What's going on, everybody? This is Mac, and I want to recap a few trades with you. This morning, early on, I started with CCL. To look at why I took this trade pre-market, I need to look at the daily chart here. That's right here under my picture. Yesterday, it had jumped up, but was very weak. But what interested me the most was after hours yesterday, you can see this huge sell-off. And the reason that sell-off happened was because Norwegian actually announced that they weren't going to have any more cruises all the way through September. So that's extending this time with no revenue. Anyway, so it's very weak, but this morning in the pre-market action, it did gap up a little bit from where it had closed at 8 o'clock yesterday. But it showed some weakness right away, and as it came back up, we'll look over here on the 2-minute chart. I took it short above VWAP, looking for it to just go ahead and continue on down. As it confirmed, it went below VWAP here. I went ahead and added into my position, and it did continue on down. I got this partial here, partial there, and partial there. Very good trade to start the morning. At the opening bell, it looked, honestly, I knew it was still a weak stock, but I had a good feeling that it was going to squeeze a bit, so I went ahead and closed the rest of my position right there. And it did squeeze a little bit and continue on down, but while that was going on, I was on to the next trade. And that next trade was Delta. Delta looked very weak all the way through the pre-market until very close to the bell. It started to squeeze up just a little bit as some shorts covered. And right at the bell, it did pop up through VWAP, as you can see right here on the 1-minute chart. But it immediately came back down. It looked like it had no legs to go anywhere. So I took it short. And as I got confirmation, I added into my short there. And I got these partials all the way down. It was a fairly quick move. I had pretty small position left at this point. As it came back up, I tried to do an add. It didn't work out. It continued on up, and I stopped out the rest of my shares at break even. So no loss there. I thought that it had a chance of squeezing up through VWAP. So I took it long here. I got one good partial there, and then I decided it just wasn't going anywhere. So I just stopped out the rest of it there and went on to the next thing. And that next thing was NCLH, Norwegian Cruise Lines. I noticed in the afternoon that it kind of got into this little wedge pattern with this downtrend line acting as resistance. VWAP kind of acted as a floor for it, and it really just looked to me like it was ready to drop through VWAP and basically do a long squeeze. So I took it short here. It did just kind of bounce around a little bit, and I went into this with the expectation that there was a good chance of a shakeout move. So as it came back up against me, I did add in. I took that opportunity because I was still fairly confident in the trade. Unfortunately, as you look over here on the 1-minute chart, which is what I usually do my active trading on for entries and exits, it did pop through this 200 moving average, which was my hard limit. And I could not have stopped out any higher. So that really frustrated with me. In fact, I took a revenge trade on AMD that ended up costing me a good bit right after this. So I let my emotions get to me a little bit more than I should have. At any rate, I did come back to it. Saw that it had come back down to VWAP. L2 looked great. I was still convinced that it was going to go after seeing this move back down to VWAP. So I took it short, and it was hard to get in because it is under short sale restriction. But I was able to get a couple thousand shares there, and it finally did break down. And I got all these partials all the way down here. And it looks like it might squeeze back up towards the close, so I went ahead and closed my position there. And that was my day. It was a positive day. Could have been a whole lot better without my revenge trade on AMD, but I will take a green day. I hope everybody else was green. If you have any questions for me, throw a comment, throw me a like, and I will talk to y'all tomorrow. Bye.